Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo di Piero da Vinci was an Italian Renaissance polymath, painter, sculptor, architect, musician, scientist, mathematician, engineer, inventor, anatomist, geologist, cartographer, botanist, and a writer whose genius, perhaps more than that of any other figure, epitomized the Renaissance humanist ideal. Leonardo has often been described as the archetype of the Renaissance mind, a man of unquestionable curiosity and feverishly inventive imagination. He is widely considered to be one of the greatest painters of all time, and perhaps the most diversely talented person to ever have lived. According to art historian Helen Gardner, the scope and depth of his interests were without precedent, and his mind and personality seemed to us superhuman. The man himself mysterious and remote. Marco Rosci points out, however, that while there is much speculation about Leonardo, his vision of the world is essentially logical rather than mysterious, and that the empirical methods he employed were unusual for his time. Born out of wedlock to a notary, Piero da Vinci, and a peasant woman, Caterina ʻvintʃi, in the region of Florence, Leonardo was educated in the studio of the renowned Florentine painter Verrocchio. Much of his earlier working life was spent in the service of Ludovico il Moro in Milan. He later worked in Rome, Bologna, and Venice, and he spent his last years in France at the home awarded by him by Francis I. To him by Francis I. Leonardo was and is renowned primarily as a painter. Among his works, the Mona Lisa is the most famous and most parodied portrait, and The Last Supper, the most reproduced religious painting of all time, with their fame approached only by Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam. Leonardo's drawing of the Vitruvian Man is also regarded as a cultural icon, being reproduced on items as varied as the euro, textbooks, and t-shirts. Perhaps 15 of his paintings survive, the small number because of his constant and frequent disastrous experimentation with new techniques and his chronic procrastination. Nevertheless, the few works, together with his notebooks, which contain drawings, scientific diagrams, and his thoughts on the nature of painting, compose a contribution to later generations of artists rivaled only by that of his contemporary Michelangelo. Leonardo is revered for his technological ingenuity. He conceptualized a helicopter, a tank, concentrated solar power, a calculator, and a double hull, and he outlined a rudimentary theory of plate tectonics. Relatively few of his designs were constructed or even feasible during his lifetime, but some of his smaller inventions, such as an automated bobbin winder and a machine for testing the tensile strength of wire, entered the world of manufacturing unheralded. He made important discoveries in anatomy, civil engineering, optics, and hydrodynamics, but he did not publish his findings, and they had no direct influence on later science. Little is known about Leonardo's early life. Leonardo received an informal education in Latin, geometry, and mathematics. His early life has been the subject of the historical conjecture. The interest in Leonardo's genius has continued unabated. Experts study and translate his writings, analyze his paintings using scientific techniques, argue over attributions, and search for works which have been recorded but never found. Liana Bortolón, writing in 1967, said, Because of the multiplicity of interests that spurred him to pursue every field of knowledge, Leonardo can be considered quite rightly to have been the universal genius par excellence. And with all the disquieting overtones inherent in that term, man is as uncomfortable today faced with a genius as he was in the 16th century. 5 centuries have passed, yet we still view Leonardo with awe.